Have you ever read through the Bible and asked yourself, wouldn't it be great to have a picture of this event? Well, of course, cameras were not invented until well after the events of the Bible. But interestingly, that does not mean that we don't have some pictures of some biblical events. And that's what we're going to talk about on today's episode of Digging Deeper. Welcome to Digging Deeper, the podcast where we talk about the geography, archaeology, people, and cultures of the lands of the Bible. By exploring those areas, we hope to broaden your understanding of the biblical narrative. You can learn more about all of us here at Appian Media and watch our free video series at appianmedia.org. Our sponsors for today's episodes are the CEI Bookstore and Sacred Connections. We'll be more than happy to tell you a little bit more about them a little later in our show. So Dan, welcome.
Well, thank you. Good to see you again.
You too. Okay, so we want to talk about these pictures that have been taken. So set the stage for us. Give us kind of an area of the Bible that we need to look to about where we're going to have these pictures made.
Well, if you think about the United Kingdom, Solomon is king.
Yeah.
And then right after, the kingdoms are divided into the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. Neither of these nations was always doing what was right in the sight of God.
Yeah.
The northern one, a lot less than the southern one. But despite the prophets being sent by God and all the warnings, they didn't change. And so God started sending nations to teach them a lesson because he told them, if you don't obey, these bad things are going to happen. Pretty soon, 722 BC, the Assyrians conquered Samaria and the northern kingdom was wiped out.
Okay.
Syrians aren't done. They're wanting to conquer everybody. They had their eyes on the southern kingdom of Judah. So they come down and they start capturing a number of cities of Judah. And they came to one of the final strongholds that was left, the city of Lachish.
Lachish, okay. So describe to me where Lachish is in the land of Israel. If you're looking at a map, where would you look?
Okay. If you look at the southern portion of the modern country of Israel, where you think about you have the Mediterranean, and then you go a little bit east, that would have been the Shephelah, which are these lowland kind of little hills with a lot of important valleys that we read about.
Okay, right. Okay, so Lachish was located down in the Shephelah, like you said.
Yes, and on the southern end, it was very important because anybody coming up from the south, that's right at your rear guard. And so you need a big, important city to protect.
And that's what Lachish was doing. Okay, well, you mentioned the Assyrians coming down.
They did conquer it as well.
You can visit Lachish today.
You can, and there's a wonderful tale there. And since you lead tours there, how about I toss the ball over to you and let you tell us, what is a tell? We talk about the tell of the...
Okay, that's actually a good question. A tell is an artificial mound, basically. It happens when a people come into a region and they build a city. They find a place to get water and they decide this is a place to build a town, and they do. And then for one reason or another, either they're captured or they vacate the area or something, the town is deserted. And given time, dust kind of comes in and fills in, covers up what was left. Then 100 years later, another people come in and they build a city there and they build on top of this. And so a tell is an artificial mound of all of these layers of civilizations throughout history. And so there is a wonderful tell at Lachish. It's been worked on a number of times by archaeologists. And when you approach that site, as soon as you get off the bus, you're struck by this, not only the size of the tell, but there seems to be an extra appendage or something off the southern end of it. What you realize is that, and learn from not only the signage there, but in study, is that that's actually what's left over of a siege ramp by the Assyrians that you just mentioned. When the Assyrians attacked Lachish, they built this siege ramp so that they could then attack the city and, of course, gain access to the city. And it's a wonderful thing to see personally. But, as you stand there, you try to envision what that would have looked like, with the siege ramp and all the people and maybe the Israelites up on top trying to battle against the Assyrians coming in. And as I said, you want to envision what that looks like. Well, as it turns out, you can. There's actually a picture of this event. It's on display.
Let me guess.
Go ahead.
British Museum?
You got it.
Okay.
You got it. It's at the British Museum. So let me turn it back over to you now. Won't you tell us how this picture ended up in the British Museum?
I think you kind of have to know a little bit about what happened there.
Okay.
And so in 2 Kings 19, we read about Sennacherib coming down, and we read about Hezekiah praying and the angel of God coming and striking down 185,000 Assyrians, and they go back home. Jerusalem was never captured, but Lachish had been captured. And if you are a king, you want to brag about your conquests.
Right,
You want to tell
right.
everybody what you did.
Yeah.
Lachish is not a capital city, but when Sennacherib went back to Nineveh, he actually made decorations. He took these reliefs, kind of like a picture carved in stone, and he decorated the walls of his palace with pictures of the conquest of Lachish, not of Jerusalem,
Right.
which is really odd. That's the capital city. That's the one to celebrate.
But he actually never made it there.
Well, he never got to shoot an arrow or throw up a siege work there. Yes, some of his officers were outside telling him they need to give up. Those were excavated from the modern country of Iraq before it was Iraq, and they were taken by the archaeologists who were doing the dig back to their home country. And so you can actually go to the British Museum and walk down. Unfortunately, when I was there, I could just look down it because the rooms were closed, but I got some great pictures, but not close-ups. But you see on these panels the entire story of this destruction of Lachish. One panel, actually, you can see the siege ramp. You go to Lachish, you see, but then you go to the panel, and you're like, oh, here it is. And they have this battering ram up on it. And you can see the fire, actually the fire arrows being shot back and forth. You can see the sling stones being thrown. Unfortunately, the Assyrians were not known for being very humane.
Yeah.
And you can see what happened to the captured people and the captured soldiers. And it's quite graphic, to be honest. One of them, you can actually see the Assyrians bringing their gifts back to Assyria, to their gods, and to the king of Assyria.
Wow. So the whole story is displayed on this mural, for lack of a better word, that was on the palace of Sennacherib back in Nineveh.
You actually, when you look at it, it makes you realize these things really happened.
Yeah.
And before this was discovered, you might have heard authors talk about how bad the Assyrians were, how graphic they were. And then you actually see they bragged about it.
Right.
They were a very cruel people,
Right.
which is why God in turn judged them.
Well, let's take a break for a second and have a word from our sponsors. During the entire history of Appian Media, we have had several companies reach out to us and offer to sell our products. One of the first to contact us was CEI Bookstore. CEI Bookstore has been in business for over 70 years and is a non-profit religious bookstore and retail supplier of Bibles, books, church supplies, and other religious resources. They're located in Athens, Alabama, but serve customers across the entire United States. If you're in need of any of the wonderful products they offer, we encourage you to reach out to them through their website at truthbooks.com. Sacred Connections is a safe online space for Christians to connect and build meaningful relationships. With a focus on community and channels dedicated to various interests and events, there is something for users at every life stage. And right now, when you download the app, use the code Digging Deeper to receive a special discount for all listeners of the Digging Deeper podcast. So we invite you to start your journey by going to their website today and learning more. Their address is sacredconnections.com. Now, back to the show.
Well, Barry, we had the opportunity to speak with one of our good friends and mentor to both of us.
Yes, Farrell Jenkins.
The really neat thing about this topic is he has actually participated in archaeological digs at Lachish.
Yes.
We had an opportunity to sit down with him and to talk about his experiences. And so let's just listen to some of what we talked about with him. We appreciate your time. Barry and I have been talking to Farrell Jenkins, who has worn many hats through the years, a professor at Florida College, a preacher. You've been leading tours since 1967 over to not only the Bible lands, but around the world.
I led tours for 50 years, and in 2016 was my 50th year, and so I decided that was enough tours to lead. And I don't know how many times I've been to Israel. I haven't counted them up, but probably 60, 70 times. I don't know, maybe.
So you having worked there with the dig, studying history, studying the Bible, I obviously, like you, think they all agree. But the significance of this city, when we see the reliefs in the British Museum and we read Sennacherib's prism, can you touch on kind of why he bragged about this city rather than another city?
Well, it was a strong city. It was a significant city. He would have bragged on Jerusalem had he taken it, and this would have been forgotten.
Yeah.
He did say that he took 40 Judean cities, I believe, in his annals. So he took a lot of cities, and some of them must have been very small because there's not that many down through there, that he would have taken. I guess that some of them would surrender. That really did show the power of the Assyrians to go that far away from their home and to be able to draw these pictures and the people that were killed and then to see these people on the little carts heading off, with one bag of grain maybe.
Yeah.
And just really a sad thing. Everybody should go to the British Museum and see that original. The original is better than the replica in the Israel Museum, but if you can't get to both places, that would work out okay to see it.
But just what would a typical day be like on a dig?
Okay, you got up before dark, before daylight, and you got like a piece of toast and jam and maybe coffee if you like coffee. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if I drank any or not because I didn't until I retired. So. But that's what was available. You jumped on the back of a truck and they drive you to the base of the tell.
Yeah.
You still got to walk up. You got to walk up. And it's almost like same as the ramp because it's got to come up to the level of the gate.
Yeah. So
you walk from down there up to here. You come in and go to your respective places to work. Then about 8 o'clock, maybe, something like that, could be earlier or later, you have lunch spread out.
Okay.
And so, breakfast. You have a real breakfast.
Right. So
you have breakfast, not all that good, but it's all there was.
Yes.
And so you eat it. And they're big on cucumbers over there. So you eat that. And that's at sun up, and the sun would be coming up. You'd see it over here, over Marishah.
Okay.
That's why it's important. So you could see Marishah. And you remember the way the Lachish letters read was, we can no longer see the fires from Azekah. Mm-hmm. So Azekah was beyond there. They couldn't see those flares anymore. And that meant the Assyrians were coming. It was bad. And the Assyrians did win there. And then they went to Jerusalem. And only Hezekiah's, having built a fortification as well as the tunnel, that's the only thing that saved the city. Yep. And I tell you, I like to talk about what the Assyrians did. People just realized in 735, they started at Hazor and took it. They came in from the north. Then in 721-22, they came to Samaria and they took it. And then when they came on down here to, what time was it, 810 or 801, something like that. I've forgotten the exact date. They captured this city and almost captured Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. And there they are in this country for all this length of time. And when I talk about the Bible lands and customs, you just think of the food they ate up, the cattle they killed, the grain they used, and all those things, taking it from the people and taking care of their military.
Well, sure. And if they were in the land for that long, there were people who lived there who never understood the land without the Assyrians in it.
Yes, that's correct.
So you have a blog where you write about a lot of biblical places. What is that? What is that blog?
Well, it's farrelljenkins.blog.
There we go.
Well, we appreciate it very much.
Yeah, we appreciate it. You have been a mentor and a friend to both of us, and we just appreciate you taking the time to spend with us.
I'm really delighted to do that. I've considered you both friends for a long time.
Well, that was wonderful. We are so thankful for
that was fun.
Farrell.
That was wonderful.
His years of service to the Lord, as well as just his knowledge that he has shared with everybody. He actually does, he has a blog that he does. He posts that actually on Facebook as well. And so I never read one of his blog posts without learning something.
I'm the exact same way. It's a pleasure to read every one of those.
As believers of the Word of God, we don't necessarily need archaeology to prove the words of the text to us because of our faith. But thankfully, through archaeology, we did get that proof, as well as we learn about the culture of the peoples and the times of the land of the Bible. Every now and then, though, we do find something that really gives us something to remember. The reliefs from Sennacherib's palace at the siege of Lachish is a wonderful example of that. The ability to see in graphic detail the horrible details of the event is a visual reminder of what happens when people do not listen to God. For centuries, the prophets had warned the people of Judah about their lifestyle. In addition, those people had watched their brothers and sisters in the northern kingdom fall to the same Assyrians due to their ungodly behavior. What about our lives? The same God that warned the southern kingdom of Judah continues to warn us through His Word. We need to listen to what He says so that we don't meet a similar fate. And thanks to Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, we have a vivid reminder for us all.
Digging Deeper is a production of Appian Media. We're a non-profit media production company that is 100% crowd-funded. If you're interested in learning more about how you can support Appian Media so that we can continue to create more great, free content, visit us at appianmedia.org/listen. If you'd like to contact us, you can reach either one of us at dan.kingsley@appianmedia.org or barry.britnell@appianmedia.org. We would love to hear from you and answer any questions that you might have. A special thank goes to the entire Appian Media team who has helped us with this episode, putting it all together for you. And of course, thanks always goes to those donors who make this podcast possible. Join us next time when Dan and I are going to look into some burial practices of the Jewish people during the first century. How did that happen, and how did it relate to what we read in the Bible? That's what we'll be discussing. Until then, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to being with you on the next episode of Digging Deeper.